In every culture, there are myths about deities associated with the afterlife. These entities embody both the fear of death and the mysterious forces governing life beyond the visible world. In Greek mythology, this role is filled by Hades, the god of the underworld and ruler of the souls of the deceased. Though often perceived as the embodiment of evil, his character is far from the stereotypical villain. He does not seek chaos or destruction, nor does he harbor revenge or show anger. On the contrary, Hades is calm and balanced, as his primary duty is to maintain order in the realm of the dead. The story of Hades begins with his birth from the ancient titans Cronus and Rhea. Cronus, fearing the prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him, swallowed each newborn. This fate befell Hades, as well as his brothers and sisters. However, the youngest Zeus was saved by their mother Rhea. She hid him and gave Cronus a stone to swallow instead of the child. When Zeus grew up, he overthrew his father and freed his siblings. This moment was pivotal not only for Zeus but also for Hades, who would soon take his place among the gods. After the victory over the Titans, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon divided power over the world. The lot determined each of their fates. Zeus became the ruler of the sky, Poseidon of the seas, and Hades was granted dominion over the underworld, the realm of shadows. Although Hades was the eldest of the brothers, he accepted his destiny without envy or bitterness. Since then, he became the eternal ruler of the underworld, where the souls of the dead find peace or punishment depending on their earthly lives. Hades rarely left his domain. In myths, only 2 instances are mentioned when he ventured outside the underworld. The first of these concerns his marriage to Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of fertility. Captivated by her beauty, Hades abducted Persephone to make her his wife and to rule the underworld together. This myth symbolizes the changing seasons, as Persephone, divided between 2 worlds, spent half the year in Hades' realm and the other half on Earth with her mother. The second instance when Hades left his kingdom involves the giant Typhon, whom Zeus defeated with the help of Hades and other gods. This myth highlights that, despite his constant presence in the realm of shadows, Hades remains an essential part of the Olympian pantheon and can intervene in earthly matters when necessary. Hades symbolized the inevitability of death, order, and justice. He did not meddle in the affairs of the living, did not incite wars, nor sowed destruction. His kingdom was a place where all people went after death, regardless of their earthly achievements. This portrayal of Hades underscores the uniqueness of Greek mythology, where even the darkest deities play a vital role in maintaining cosmic order. In ancient Greece, people avoided saying the name of Hades aloud to avert unwanted attention from this somber deity. Instead, they used various epithets such as the Unseen One, the Rich One, the Gatekeeper, or the Hateful One. Though Hades was part of the Olympian pantheon, stories about him were rare, as people believed that mentioning his name might bring misfortune. Despite this, they did not view him as a malevolent being. Hades is an enigmatic and mysterious figure, but it's important to understand that he is not the embodiment of death itself. His role lies in governing the underworld, watching over its boundaries, and maintaining order, ensuring that the souls of the dead do not leave their realm or return to the world of the living. Hades is the guardian of the afterlife, preventing any disruption of the natural cycle of existence. Initially, Hades was associated exclusively with darkness and the afterlife, his image closely tied to decay and gloom. However, from the 5th century BCE, the perception of this deity began to change. He became associated not only with the realm of the dead but also with fertility, prosperity, and wealth. This shift in image largely occurred due to his assimilation with another ancient Greek deity, Plutus. Plutus embodied wealth and abundance, and was not associated with negative or dark emotions like Hades. When these 2 images merged in mythology, Hades began to be regarded as the lord of immense treasures hidden in the depths of the underworld. He was now seen not only as the ruler of the dead but also as a tonic god who granted earthly blessings. The underworld became a symbol not only of an end but also of new opportunities, wealth, and resources hidden beneath the earth. Thus, despite his dark image, Hades became an embodiment of other aspects of life, including fertility and abundance. This transition from a fearful god of death to a giver of blessings highlights the complexity and multifaceted nature of ancient Greek mythology, where each deity possessed numerous aspects beyond their primary functions. The cult of Hades, the god of the underworld, was widespread in places considered gates to the world of the dead, most often deep caves or crevices in the earth. In these places, according to ancient beliefs, contact with the otherworld occurred. In honor of Hades, black-colored animals were sacrificed, symbolizing his connection to darkness and subterranean forces. The earth was his element, and through it he interacted with ash and dust, embodying his control over the realm of the dead. Dark, wild tulips held special significance in the cult of Hades, which the Greeks saw as an expression of his power. These flowers connected the god of the underworld with the plant world, giving Hades another symbolic aspect his link to the life cycle of nature. The belief that it was Hades' powers that helped seeds sprout from the ground highlighted his importance not only as the ruler of the world of the dead, but also as a patron of fertility, helping the earth bear fruit. As for Hades' appearance, detailed descriptions of his appearance have not survived and possibly never existed. People avoided depicting him in paintings and frescoes, just as they avoided mentioning his name unnecessarily. In portrayals, Hades was envisioned as a tall, strong, middle-aged man with an impressive beard, like his brothers Zeus and Poseidon. His black, wavy hair fell onto broad shoulders, giving him a majestic and formidable look. In some images, Hades is shown with his head turned backward, symbolizing his reluctance to meet others' gaze. His eyes were described as dead cold, with a pale film, as if they saw not the living world, but only shadows and souls of the dead. This emphasized his role as the ruler of those who had already left the earthly world. Hades received his sole subjects in the main hall of his underground palace, where he administered justice, ensuring that the boundaries of his realm were not violated. This image underscores that, despite his dark status, Hades was a symbol of order and inevitability, the ruler of a world where everyone, sooner or later, finds eternal rest. Hades, the ruler of the underworld, sits on a throne made of pure gold, symbolizing his majesty and undeniable authority. According to some legends, this throne was crafted by Hephaestus himself, known for his craftsmanship and magical abilities. As a symbol of his power, Hades holds a scepter adorned with a figure of a three-headed dog, a reference to Cerberus, who guards the entrance to his realm. His weapon is a two-pronged fork, distinguishing him from Poseidon, whose symbol was a trident. This fork symbolizes not only his dominion over the underworld, but also his ability to shatter any barriers in his path. One of Hades' most famous attributes was a magical helmet, also known as the Cap of Invisibility. This item, made from animal hides, allowed its wearer to become invisible, enabling Hades to move unnoticed both within his realm and beyond it. This helmet was a gift from the Cyclopes, whom Hades freed by Zeus' command. Interestingly, the helmet of invisibility is mentioned in many myths and was often used not only by Hades but also by other heroes and gods, such as Perseus. Hades' mode of transport was a massive chariot drawn by 4 black horses. On this fearsome chariot he traveled throughout his domain, inspecting the world of the dead and occasionally venturing beyond it. The chariot symbolized his authority over all earthly and subterranean forces. The character of Hades is marked by duality. On one hand, he is stern and unyielding, as befits a god ruling the realm of the dead. He embodies cold rationality and strictness in maintaining order. Hades is a god with whom no deals or negotiations are possible. He does not yield to persuasion, nor does he show compassion or pity. His character allows no concessions. Nevertheless, despite his severe nature, Hades warmly and graciously receives new souls into his realm, fulfilling his role as the host of the afterlife. Moreover, he plays an essential role in the lives of the living, fostering fertility and prosperity by granting riches from the earth's depths. One of Hades' main powers, according to ancient Greek beliefs, was his control over human emotions. The Greeks believed that this god could influence people's moods, casting melancholy, despondency, and a sense of hopelessness upon them. He was also capable of plunging a person into apathy and depression. Hades used these powers to maintain a connection between the worlds of the dead and the living, reminding people of the inevitability of their final journey. Over time, the image of Hades changed. He became associated not only with darkness and death, but also with abundance and prosperity. Hades was credited with control over crops and weather, and it was believed that he could influence soil fertility and grant people generous gifts of nature. Moreover, according to some myths, Hades possessed the ability to resurrect the dead. However, he rarely used this gift, as he considered disrupting the natural course of life and death unnatural and wrong. In Greek mythology, the name Hades had a dual meaning. It referred not only to the god of the underworld but also to his realm, the world of the dead, where souls go after death. It's important not to confuse Hades with Tartarus, an abyss located beneath the realm of the dead. Tartarus was a place of imprisonment for titans and other beings condemned to eternal torment. Hades, on the other hand, was where all deceased souls went, and it was not associated with punishment or torture. A journey to the realm of the dead is only possible after physical death. According to myths, Hermes would come for the souls of the deceased, guiding them across the boundaries of the living world into the underworld. The ancient Greeks believed that the realm of shadows lay in the west, and only the messenger of the gods could escort souls to their new home. In antiquity, the west symbolized death, which was quite natural, as it is where the sun sets behind the horizon, plunging the world into darkness and cold. Just as the sun disappears in the west, souls depart to the realm of Hades, a place where there is no room for joy or light. Sunlight never reaches this realm. It is covered in eternal darkness and filled with horrors. The rivers flowing through Hades' domain are dark and cold, their waters mysteriously moving, and on their shores, the wails of souls doomed to eternal sorrow can be heard. These rivers separate the world of the living from the dead, and crossing them is the only path to the underworld. In the fields covered with pale asphodel flowers, disembodied shades of the deceased wander. They are devoid of hope and desires. Their existence is joyless and empty, for there is no light in Hades to bring them comfort. To set foot in the lands of Hades, one must cross the black, churning waters of the River Styx. This passage is managed by the old, stern ferryman Charon. His duty is to transport the souls of the deceased from one shore to the other. However, Charon does not perform his duties selflessly. He demands payment for each crossing, a coin, often called an obol. Those without this fare were not permitted onto his boat. Charon would harshly push them away with his oar, and such souls were doomed to wander the riverbanks endlessly, denied peace. This is why a coin was placed under the tongue of the deceased before burial, to ensure a dignified existence in the world of the dead. But even this is not the end of trials for those who enter Hades' realm. The entrance to the afterlife is guarded by Cerberus, a terrifying three-headed dog loyal to his master. This monstrous guardian prevents anyone from escaping back to the world of the living and guards the gates so that no souls can leave Hades' domain. Cerberus symbolized the eternal confinement that awaited everyone who set foot in the underworld. Cerberus, the guardian of the gates of the underworld, allows all who enter the realm of the dead to pass without trouble, but there is no return path. This fierce dog, loyal to his master Hades, does not allow anyone to return to the world of the living. Beyond the gates of the underworld, in the depths of Hades' realm, begins the terrifying judgment of deceased souls. Here they stand before three judges, Minos, Aeacus, and Rhadamanthus, who hold the power to judge each one according to their deeds in life. The domains of Hades are diverse and full of contrasts. Here one can find everything from dark rivers and swamps to desolate plains and abandoned meadows. In some corners, silence, peace, and total oblivion reign, while in others there is cold darkness, and everywhere are heard the groans and cries of those suffering for their earthly sins. The judges of the underworld determine the fate of each soul, directing it to different parts of the realm based on the sins committed during life. Those who were noble and virtuous in life are rewarded with eternal residence in Elysium, the ancient Greek paradise. Here, in the Elysian fields, the souls of heroes and valiant warriors enjoy eternal bliss. They live in joy and peace, rewarded for their deeds. If a deceased soul bears no heavy burden of sin, it is granted the right to drink from the river of forgetfulness. This magical drink erases all memories of past life, and afterward the shade wanders peacefully through the endless fields covered in pale asphodeles, finally freed from earthly cares and suffering. Great sinners whose crimes were especially severe are doomed to suffer in the murky waters of the Stygian marshes, plunged into torments that continue eternally. Once one descends into the realm of the dead, no one can leave with rare exceptions. One such exception is the story of the musician Orpheus. After the tragic death of his wife Eurydice, Orpheus dared to take a bold step. He descended into the underworld to bring her back. With his enchanting music and lyre playing, he so captivated Hades and Persephone that they agreed to let Eurydice return to the earth. However, fate had other plans. Orpheus was given a condition: he was not to look back at Eurydice until they had both left the underworld. But as they reached the exit, Orpheus broke this rule, and looking at his beloved too soon, he lost her forever. Eurydice returned to the world of shadows, and Orpheus was left with the pain of his loss. Another famous myth associated with Hades is the story of Sisyphus. After his death, Sisyphus was condemned to eternal torment. He was to push a massive stone up a mountain. However, each time the stone neared the summit, it would roll back down, and Sisyphus was forced to start his labor over and over. This meaningless and endless punishment gave rise to the expression Sisyphean task, meaning arduous, exhausting, yet fruitless work. Hades, despite his dark reputation, was not indifferent to love stories. One such story involves Persephone, the daughter of Demeter and Zeus. Zeus himself had promised her as a wife to his brother Hades, yet neither Demeter nor Persephone knew of this arrangement. When the time came, Hades, the lord of the underworld, devised a plan to abduct Persephone, the daughter of the goddess of fertility, Demeter. He approached Gaia, the goddess of the earth, asking her to grow a flower of extraordinary beauty, whose intoxicating fragrance would spread for miles. When Persephone saw this unusual flower, she couldn't resist its beauty and reached out to pick it. As soon as her fingers touched the stem, the earth split open beneath her, and Hades himself appeared in his golden chariot, drawn by 4 black horses. He seized the innocent and unsuspecting Persephone and, in an instant, took her to the depths of the underworld, disappearing with her into his domain. This was one of the rare occasions when Hades left his kingdom, and his actions led to terrible consequences. When Demeter learned of her daughter's abduction, she was overcome with rage and unbearable grief. Consumed by sorrow, the goddess of fertility forgot her duties to care for the earth and the harvest, leading to a terrible famine on earth. All living things began to wither, and people suffered from the lack of food. In despair, Demeter turned to Zeus, begging him to return her daughter. The thunder god, seeing the suffering of the people and realizing that the world of the living could not survive without Demeter, decided to intervene. He entered into negotiations with Hades, who was deeply enchanted by his young new wife. Zeus asked Hades to release Persephone, who longed for her mother in the sunlight. However, Hades was unwilling to let her go. He understood that if Persephone left the underworld, his kingdom would lose her forever. In an attempt to keep her, he cleverly fed her pomegranate seeds, a symbol of eternal attachment. By eating this fruit, Persephone was bound to the realm of the dead forever, as anyone who consumed food from the underworld could never fully leave it. Thus a compromise was reached. Persephone would spend part of the year in Hades' realm as his queen, and the other part on earth with her mother Demeter, bringing spring and fertility. This myth explains the changing seasons. The period when Persephone returns to Hades marks the arrival of autumn and winter, while her return to her mother heralds the arrival of spring and summer, a time of prosperity and harvest. Persephone is often depicted in paintings and frescoes standing beside Hades near his throne. Around her, spirits of sorrow and despair can be seen, emphasizing her dual nature. She is connected both to life and rebirth as well as to the world of the dead and eternal rest. This myth of Persephone's abduction shows that even powerful gods like Hades can face challenges and defeats. One of the most famous examples is Hades' encounter with the hero Heracles. In one of his labors, Heracles wounded the lord of the underworld, forcing Hades to temporarily leave his realm to seek help on Olympus from the healer god Paean. Despite his strength and power, Hades, like other gods, was shown to be vulnerable. Although most sources claim that Hades had no offspring, some myths mention that Persephone bore him a daughter, Macaria, the goddess of a blessed death. She symbolized a peaceful and honorable passing and was Hades' only daughter. This concludes today's story. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this tale helped you gain a deeper understanding of ancient Greek myths. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to stay updated with new videos, and leave your comments. There are many more fascinating myths and legends to come, and I look forward to our next meeting. See you soon on the Myths and Legends channel.